Hello, my name is Esh and I like to draw, but do you know what else I like? Dragon Ball! The late Akira Toriyama's iconic manga was first released in my country in the year 2000 when I was 11 years old. I still own the copy of the first volume that my mother got me and the rest of the series that I bought with my own pocket money way back then. This, alongside Pokemon, was my first introduction to manga and anime, or at least manga and anime as a concept that was separate from all other cartoons and comics. It opened a whole world of stories to me, and for that, I owe this series a lot. Whatever you may personally think of Dragon Ball, its status, influence, and worldwide success simply cannot be denied. And over the years, through more anime shows, movies, games, and what have you, the Dragon Ball universe has grown and grown and grown, and it is now full of strange creatures, species, and planets, all of them visually striking. In other words, Dragon Ball is a perfect playground for creating original characters, as the very existence of the Xenoverse games would attest to. And yet, I have never actually created any Dragon Ball OCs, and I want to change that. So as I've done before, I made a sheet for Dragon Ball OC creation and had my viewers pick the character's gender, age, species, alignment, and specialty during a different art stream. 2 characters were created this way, while a third one was created by me just rolling the dice and seeing what I got on the sheet. So what kind of characters did I end up with exactly? Well, why don't we just start drawing and find out? Our first character, as decided by the chat, will be an old male Majin with a focus on speed. And he's going to be evil. Oof, starting out strong, I see. So one of my favorite approaches to creating characters is to take a completely classic archetype and then picking 1 or 2 things about it to turn on their heads. So let's take a look at the Majins. Over the course of the Dragon Ball franchise, they've developed a few primary traits. They're usually depicted as very goofy and silly even if they're evil, which is more rare than Majin Buu and Android 21 would imply, and they're most often associated with sweets, cakes, candy, and so forth. So my first idea was to step away from all the sweet stuff and focus on something more bitter and sour. At first I was thinking of basing my character on something sour like lemon or lime, but when I was thinking of how that would affect the character's coloring, I thought it might be a little too similar to Majin Ku and Majin Doo from Dragon Ball Daima. But then I remembered some details from the sheet. He's going to be old and he's going to be fast. And what flavor that adults and older people often enjoy do we know that is associated with fast movement and energy? That's right, coffee. Now my character is starting to take shape. I'm imagining a tired old man who has become bitter over time somehow. So I started out by drawing this tired old man pose and even gave him a little bit of a potbelly. I mean, sure, this guy's biggest power is going to be speed, but only when he feels the need to move fast. And when he does, no youngster will be able to catch up. So my idea for this character is that as Majins expand as a race over the course of stuff like Dragon Ball Online and Dragon Ball Xenoverse, they quickly become stereotyped as being big, chubby, silly, fun-loving goofballs. And this guy doesn't like that. He remembers a time when Majin were feared and respected for their strength. And he wants that respect back. It's not about conquering the world to him. It's about getting his people to get serious and putting the fear of the Majin back in the hearts of everyone who has ever laughed at them and dismissed them as cake-munching simpletons. Alright, so far so good. I've taken 2 aspects of the Majin, their goofiness and their sweet theming, and turned them upside down. But so far this guy just kinda looks like a wrinkly Majin Buu, and I don't really want to color him brown to get the coffee bit in there. So, how do we solve this problem? Well, I had a devious idea. You know that stereotype of old ladies having those glass bowls full of stuck together hard candies? We're doing that. He's a piece of coffee-flavored hard candy. His bitter attitude and his wariness with the way people view Majins has literally hardened him over time, creating this hot-to-the-touch hard candy shell around his body. So not only do you have to keep up with this old man, you actually have to hammer your way through a shield he put up around himself to even reach him at all. Today's episode is brought to you by the letter S, for symbolism. And there he is. There's our evil old Majin, who I've decided to name Majin Maa, from mame, the Japanese word for bean. Cause if there was one thing Toriyama loved, it was naming his characters after food and drinks. Alright, I'm actually very happy with this guy. Now let's take a look and see what our second character is gonna be like. This time we've got a good Namekian child with a focus on technique. And they're going to be female. And I can already hear some hardcore Dragon Ball fans barking at me in the comments right now. But the Namekians are a unisexual species. They don't have a concept of gender. So surely you're just gonna ignore that part, right? Hell no! What do I look like to you? Some kind of coward? I'll find a way to make it work. Now, like I said, it is true that Namekians don't actually have a concept of gender. They just have appearances and mannerisms that we consider masculine, and the named Namekians are mainly referred to as he, him for the sake of convenience. And also because Toriyama clearly came up with the whole Namekians are unisex thing long after introducing Piccolo, but hush, that's beside the point. The real question is, how do we introduce a girl Namekian? Well, I think I have an idea. Now, in canon, when the planet Namek exploded, our heroes managed to bring all the surviving Namekians to Earth, where they then spent a year living at Capsule Corp before a new planet for them to live on was wished into existence. But who's to say there weren't a few Namekians among them who took an interest in human culture? Let's imagine for a second a young Namekian child. Their home has been destroyed and they're now living on a strange planet, being taken care of by Bulma, who is certainly quite feminine. Is it so hard to imagine this child taking on some of Bulma's mannerisms and interests? Or exploring Earth, seeing how people behave and deciding they like the way these girls present themselves? So they decide to go by she, her and go exploring, decking themselves out in human clothes and attempting to learn to interact with human children, which predictably is not going to be easy. I can imagine her running into a bit of trouble as she goes around Earth trying to act like Earth girls and not really understanding why that might change the way that some people view her or behave around her. You know, similar to, say, Jenny Wakeman and the way she doesn't always fully understand all aspects of the teenage girl behaviors and interests she wants to emulate. As for her outfit, I decided to take some cues from Pan in GT and Pansy from Daima and dress her in a slightly over-designed mishmash of boyish and feminine clothes, accessories and colors. I think it really helps to show her lack of understanding of the way we tend to visually separate genders. I also wanted her to still look like most other Namekians without going over the top and trying to girlify her with big bows, skirts, heels, makeup or stuff like that. So the main signs of femininity is the addition of Toriyama-style lashes along with some bracelets and earrings. And so our happy little girl Namekian has taken shape. And as for her name, I've taken to calling her Stropo, from gastropod, in keeping with the snail theme of Namekian names. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I actually really like her. I think exploring the world of Dragon Ball through her eyes could actually be very fun. But those were just 2 characters. It's time to bring out the dice and see what we end up with for character 3. Alright, the dice have decided that our 3rd character will be an adult, evil female Saiyan with a focus on strength. Oh, I immediately know where I want to go with this. So, despite the Saiyans being depicted as this kind of barbaric race that is all about just growing stronger and meaner and teaching their kids to do the same, most Saiyan women we see are still all sweet and dainty looking, while the men are all burly bastards. Present company excluded. Even the more mean-spirited ones like Fasha look like downright delicate little twigs next to most of the guys. It's really only when Kale goes berserk we see some muscle on these gals, and that just ain't right. So I'm going to draw an absolute Amazon of a Saiyan lady. And she's not going to look like she just stepped out of the beauty salon either. Let's go. I like to imagine this character being the ultimate Saiyan. Someone who lives and breathes only to fight, eat and try to make more Saiyans. Gotta keep things YouTube friendly. Taking some cues in terms of body type from characters like Jasper from Steven Universe, I set out to create a character who's basically just a female version of Nappa, an absolute brute. Which is also why I decided to draw her munching on a fresh kill. I like to imagine that she's been living on a deserted planet for decades after Planet Vegeta was destroyed, similar to Broly, with the main difference being that she was already an adult when she stranded there, and that she is taken to her harsh environment like a fish takes to water. Every single meal requires a fight to the death, and she likes it that way. That's also why I gave her these asymmetrical scars. I like to think they're from one of her tougher battles where she got grabbed by a monster in something like a Rancor pit, fought her way out and still considers that the best meal she ever had since she had to fight tooth and nail for it. Plus, let's be real, without the scars and a bit of unique color, she was starting to look a little too much like a standard unidentifiable Saiyan, even if I drew her with a more aged face than most Saiyan women. It's not that she's super old exactly, she's just well into her late Saiyan adulthood and also not a little prissy princess like she'd probably call someone like Kale. So what kind of name do we even give someone like this? Well, I call her Bruss after Brussels sprout, a tough and hard vegetable that a lot of people really don't like at first sight. If you ask me, it fits her just perfectly. And those are our 3 new Dragon Ball OCs. Which one was your favorite? Tell me all about it in the comments below, and don't forget to like the video, hype the channel, and subscribe to be the first to know when a new video comes out. See you in the next one, folks, and bye bye.